I'm here today to do an updated beauty inventory. The last time I took an inventory was on the 7th of June of this year, and I did an inventory of my makeup, my skincare, and my nail polishes. This time I've added hair care, but if you don't want to watch that, that's totally fine. I'll start with makeup, move through nail polish, skincare, and then hair care, so you can quit at any time when you become uninterested. So what I'll do is I'll divide all these different products into sections. I'll tell you how many I have of each product, how many I had in June, and how many I would like to have in my ideal size collection, what I'm working towards. I'll just clarify here at the beginning, when I count a product, I include everything, including little samples, whether they're in pots or if they're just silver sachets, as well as full-size products. So that's why some of these numbers are quite large. It's because I have a lot of samples or have a lot of sachets or something like that. So let's start with face products. In June, I had 3 foundations and now I have 7. That includes 6 tinted moisturizers and BB creams and 1 full coverage foundation. Ideally, I would only like to have 2 foundations, 1 kind of BB cream tinted moisturizer, and then 1 full coverage foundation. In June, I had 1 primer for my face, and now I have 2, and ideally I would like to have 1. For concealer in June, I had 2, and I still have 2. They're different 2. I used up those other ones from June, and I bought 2 replacement ones, and ideally I would like to continue to have 2. I like 1 for underneath my eyes for brightening, and then 1 for all over my face. In June, I had 2 powders, and now I have 3, and ideally I would like to have approximately 2. 1 is sort of a finishing powder, and the other is just a regular pressed powder, but that's flexible. For blush, in June I had 20, and I still have the same 20. That breaks down to 7 powders and 13 creams. Ideally, I would like to have about 15 blushes, hopefully a bit lower than that over time, but at the moment 15 is good for me. For highlighters, in June I had 4, and now I have 5. That's 4 powders and 1 cream, and ideally I'd like to have maybe 2 to 3. Now on to eye products. For primers, in June I had 2 and now I have 1, and I'm happy to keep having 1. For cream shadows, I used to have 4 and now I have 5. I didn't purchase a new one. I actually found a backup that I'd had buried in one of my drawers, so that bumped it up to 5, but I didn't purchase any new ones, and I'm perfectly happy to continue to have 5 cream shadows. For pigments, I had 4. I still have the same 4, and keeping 4 is totally fine with me. For single shadows, I still have the 8 that I had back in June, and I'm happy to maintain that 8. For larger eyeshadow palettes, this includes anything with 2 shadows or more. I used to have 12, I now have 13 because I bought a Tarte palette, and ideally I'd like to have about 8 or 9. For eyeliners, I used to have 14, I still have 14, and I would like to have that to 7 in the long term because I just don't use eyeliners very much, or I don't use a wide variety of colors. So having like 4 different browns isn't really suited to me. For mascara, I used to have 1 and now I have 2. One of those is a sample, but I'm happy to keep having 2 and then just use them up. Most of the time, I just like having 1 mascara open. For brow powder, I had 1 in June. I still have the same 1, and I'm happy to keep it at that. For brow pencils, I didn't have any in June. I still haven't purchased a new one, and I'd like to have up to 1. For brow gels, in June I had 1, and now I still have 1, but it's a different one. I've got a new one, and I'm happy to keep it at 1. On to lip products. In June, I had 2 lip pencils. I now have 1, and I could go up to 3. For lipsticks, I had 23, and now I have 22, and that breaks down to 5 crayons, 3 liquids, and 14 bullets. So I got rid of 2 liquid ones. I used up a bullet one, and then I bought 2 bullet ones in that period of time. For lipsticks, my ideal number would be about 15. For lip glosses, I had 9 in June. I still have 9. I think I used one up or got rid of one and then bought a new one, and I'm happy to go up to 10. For lip balms, in June I had 8 and now I have 7, so I used one up and I haven't purchased any more. Ideally, I would like to have 3. For perfumes, in June I had 8 full-size bottles and now I have 7, and I had 5 samples and I now have 2. Ideally, I wouldn't like to have any samples. Just if they come in, I'd like to get rid of them straight away, and I'd like to have 5 full-size perfume bottles. Now on to nail polishes. For nail polishes, in June I had 1 base coat. I still have 1 base coat and I would like to maintain one base coat. I had 2 top coats. I now have 1 top coat and I'm happy to keep 1 top coat. I had 2 treatments. I still have the same 2 treatments and I'm happy to maintain 2 treatments. In June, I had 2 glitters. I now have 1 and I could go up to 3. For colored products in June, I had 28 and I now have 32, so I did gain 4 colors. Ideally, I'd like to have about 20 colored nail polishes. I also had no nail strips in June and now I have 2, and ideally I'd only like to have 1 nail strips. So those are all of my makeup inventory items. As you can see, I went up in a lot of categories, and that was mostly just because I wanted to buy some new products and try some things out. I haven't been using up as much makeup as some people do, and that's perfectly fine with me. I've been practicing decluttering, but then also replacing them with new products, so I'm working on it and I'm happy just where I am now, slowly moving towards my goals. Now we'll move on to my skincare inventory. For face products, in June I had 2 makeup removers. I still have 2 makeup removers and ideally I'd like to have 1. For cleansers, in June I had 2 and I now have 4, and 2 is my ideal number. In June I had 2 face scrubs and now I have none, but I would like to have up to 1. For toners or facial mists of any kind, in June I had 2, I now have 4, and ideally I'd like to have 2. In June I didn't have any eye serums, but now I have 1 and I'm happy to stay with 1. I had 4 face serums in general and now I have 5, and ideally I'd like to have just 1. I used to have 2 moisturizers and now I have 1 and I'm happy to stay at 1. I had 1 facial oil. I still have 1 facial oil and 1 is all I need. I used to have 3 face masks of different kinds. I now have 5 and 2 is my ideal number. I used to have 1 facial sunscreen. I now have 2 and 1 is enough. Now these are some body care products. In June I had 4 shower gels. I now have 6 and ideally I would like 2. In June I had 8 bars of soap. I still have 8 bars of soap and ideally I would like to have 2. In June I had 8 bottles of lotion. I now have 9 and ideally I would like to have 2. In June I had 1 body scrub. I now have none and ideally I would like 1. In June I had 2 body oils. I now have 1 and 1 is plenty. In June I had 3 bath products. I now have 6 and 3 is enough. In June I had 1 bottle of tanning lotion and I still have that bottle of tanning lotion and that's plenty. So as you can see, I also went up in a lot of my skincare. I actually purchased and was given a lot of new skincare when I started my new job, so I pretty much have enough skincare to last me at least the next 6 months, if not the next year, so I probably won't be purchasing any more anytime soon, but that's why my numbers, even if they did go down between now and June, I also got new ones, so it bumped it up to the same number. Now I've just got a quick hair care inventory. I've never done a hair care inventory before, so I don't have numbers to compare, so I'll just run through this. I have 1 bottle of shampoo. Ideally I'd like to have 0 to 1. I have 1 bottle of co-wash and I'd like to keep having 1. I have 1 bottle of daily conditioner and I'd like to maintain 1. I have 2 bottles of leave-in conditioner and I don't really need that many. I could use 1. I have 4 bottles of different styling treatments and ideally I'd like 2. And I don't have any hair oils, but I would like to go up to 1. So there you go. Those are my inventory numbers for September. So I will do one more update at the end of the year to see how I'm trucking along. Hopefully I will be moving closer towards my goal, but I mean, all the holiday sets are getting advertised now and they look fantastic. So we'll see how it goes. Really, these are just kind of for me to keep track of my numbers, to see what I'm buying, where my money is going, and what I can probably pull back on. If you do inventories, please let me know down below. I'd love to watch it. I find these really interesting videos just to compare between people and products. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.